Hi guys, in this video I'll be talking about the Canon 24mm 1.4 lens. So I'll be right back. This is the Canon EF 24mm 1.4L II USM lens. 2 meaning it's the second version of this lens that Canon created. It's about 5 or 6 years old. I have prime lenses in pretty much every focal length from 15mm up to 300mm. And 24mm was a prime focal length that I've been looking for a long time. I was shooting, prior to having this, I was shooting at 24mm my zoom lens, my 24-70 zoom, which is a maximum of 2.8 aperture. And I was shooting my tilt shift lens, my Canon tilt shift 24mm lens, which is a maximum of 3.5 aperture. That's a whole other discussion. Tilt shift lenses, I'll have a video on that pretty soon. So not a lot available in 24mm focal length at 1.4 maximum aperture. So I tried out the Canon lens and I really liked it, so I picked one up. And this lens has been really great for me. It's a great thing to have in my bag. It's very unique in that you can shoot really wide angle shots at a shallow depth of field, which is something that you don't see very often, to be able to go wide, because typically the wider the lens is, the naturally deeper the depth of field is. So if you have a shot you're taking at 2.8 with a 24mm lens, the depth of field is going to be deeper on that than it would if you're taking that shot with a 300mm lens at 2.8. So typically you don't see, with a wide angle lens, you don't see shallow depth of field shots as often, just because of physics. It just doesn't work out that way. So to be able to shoot at a wide focal length like 24mm at 1.4 was always very important to me. So this lens is really solid. It's built great. It's a Canon L lens, which means it's the highest quality that Canon makes. As far as the color and contrast, it's really fantastic. The out of focus areas, the bokeh, is wonderfully smooth. So as far as image quality goes, I have nothing but good things to say about this lens. So really it comes down to how I use it and why I use it. I use it very often, like I said before, just to create a unique looking image. I use it a lot outdoors for portraits, when I want to get a full body portrait shot of somebody in a certain environment, a recognizable environment that's not necessarily sharply in focus. So my subject will be in focus, the background will be out of focus. You'll be able to tell what it is, but it'll be a nice soft out of focus background to make my subject of the portrait really stand out. So it's great for things like that. It's great for interiors. If you're shooting in a restaurant, at a party, in a bar, in a club, it's great for situations where you don't want to really go firing flash off, and flash wouldn't really necessarily flatter the subject in certain situations. This is great to be able to shoot at 1.4 indoors in natural light, and be able to use a low ISO and not have a grainy shot where you're shooting at ISO 6400. I can shoot this indoors at ISO maybe 800 or so at 1.4 in a really dark condition and get really nice shots. It's also good for dark rides. If you go into a theme park, it's great for dark rides. You get a nice wide shot at 1.4, you know, so you get a fast enough shutter speed to get what you want without getting a blurry shot. It's great for dark rides also. And as far as comparisons to other 24mm lenses, like I said, the other ones that I've used are my 24-70 zoom lens, which is a 2.8 maximum aperture. This obviously goes to 1.4, so at 1.4 and 2.0, you can't really compare. But if I'm shooting with this lens, the prime lens at 2.8, it's actually better than the zoom lens at 2.8 because it's stopped down a couple of stops from maximum aperture. That's how these lenses are basically designed. This is designed to perform well at 1.4 and even get better and better as you stop down. So at 2.8 with this lens, you stop down 2 stops from maximum aperture, and 2.8 on a 24-70 zoom, you're at maximum aperture there. So this is going to perform better at 2.8 than the 24-70 would perform at 2.8. Once you stop down to, you know, maybe 5.6, you're going to see very little difference between this and the zoom at 24mm. But that's really not what this is designed for. This is designed to shoot wide open, 1.4, 2.0, 2.8. It's designed to shoot with a larger aperture to create that different effect and to be able to get a higher quality shot. It comes with a lens hood, which I don't use very often. It's a very wide lens hood, so it protects the front element from the sun a little bit. If I'm shooting out in the rain, it'll protect it a little bit, but it's not very deep, so I don't use it very often. But when I need it, it's definitely a good thing to have. So I've been showing you some samples as we go along of photos taken with this lens. I'll show you a few more at the end here. But if you're looking for something different, if you like shooting primes, you like shooting wide open at 1.4, this 24mm focal length is really something unique. It's going to give your photos a different look. So if you have an opportunity to try one out, definitely try it out. I highly recommend it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the kind of things that we're doing here on this channel, definitely subscribe and click the little notification bell so that every time we post a new video, you'll be notified. I'll see you in the next video.